Or is it going to be the thing that spurs them on for the second half of the season? Darren Williams shares stories about the end of the Jerry Sloan era and whether he was going to leave the Jazz on a Ringer podcast. We'll talk about that. Plus, it's a live show, so the chat rooms are open and your questions are coming. It's All-Star break, and it's Locked on Jazz. Pow! How are you? I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers. The chat rooms are open for you. We are live today on Locked on Live. We are live today on Locked on Live on Twitch, on YouTube, on Facebook, and we're live on Periscope at DLock09 and Twitter. So thank you very much for tuning in to today's program. So I probably delayed the show today because I didn't know what to say and I didn't really want to talk about this. And it seems really crappy that we have such an unbelievable first half of the season. We got the best record in the NBA. Rudy and Donovan have been amazing. And here we sit having to talk about, the likes of another version of Shaquille O'Neal disrespecting the Utah Jazz, but this time it's LeBron James and Kevin Durant. So I don't know. Was it? Let me back up. Let me make sure everyone's got the understanding of what took place. So what took place is the fact that Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert in last night's All-Star draft were the last two players taken. And then LeBron kind of makes the comment about the fact that, hey, we just don't pick Utah. And it feels really crappy. Is it a concerted effort to degrade the Jazz and knock Donovan and Rudy down? Was it related to their comments they made the night before about being disrespected? Was it just two bullies playing like eighth grade boys and these are the guys they're going to pick on? It's really hard to tell. What I do think is relevant and unfortunate is that Donovan and Rudy are sitting there watching this show last night to see where they go, and they end up being the last guys taken, and that sucks. They've done everything right this year. They're the number one seed. To me, they were going to head to the All-Star game. A year ago, they were going to the All-Star game, and it was going to be this experience of them being able to – last year they go, and the experience is that they're first time – feeling them like they're all-stars. This time, it was no doubt. The only question was whether Mike Conley was going to get in. So they'd earned it. They belong. They're established. And they're going to walk in with their chest out a little bit, saying, we're the number one seed. Look what we've done. And now they get knocked down. Maybe that's the whole point. Maybe that's actually what it is. Maybe it's the ultimate sign of respect that LeBron and Kevin Durant are looking at these upstarts and saying, screw you, this is our world. And you don't get to the fruits of the labor, and you don't get to feel that. And we're going to knock you down. And this is all part of, them being, it's their league, and this is going to be Brooklyn, LA. And don't you start thinking you have any ideas, and don't you talk about being disrespected by the officials, and don't you getting ideas about being the best in the league. Maybe it's that simple. It feels like a bummer. Like these guys should be Quinn Snyder's representing the Utah Jazz, one of the great honors you can have as a coach to be able to represent this team. Donovan and Rudy are there. The Jazz are one of the biggest talks of the league right now. And yet the last 48 hours, 36 hours, the talk is disrespect from officials and now disrespect from the two kings of the league. It sucks. It's not so what's concerning about it from a Jazz standpoint is that it seems to all be just solely based on the fact you play in Utah, right? Rudy and Donovan's comments out of Philadelphia were solely based on the fact that you play in Utah and that we play for the Jazz and we're a small market team. We've got this uniform, and this uniform means we get disrespected. And LeBron and Kevin Durant's whole thing are, well, we don't play with Stockton and Malone in video games. We don't do Utah. Oh, I got to draft length. Here's Sabonis. Like, it seemed pretty intentional. Is it just because that's the easy one you can pick on? Because you're an 8th grade boy, and so you go find the kid in 8th grade that you can pick on, who's actually getting a 4.0 and is going to move on and kick your ass for the rest of life, and so you pick on him in 8th grade? I don't know. Or is this much simpler, that it's LeBron and Durant saying, like, this is our world. We perceive you as a slight threat. Don't get any ideas. It's not entirely clear to me how we should perceive it. It's a bummer. And I think, as I said, I probably delayed the show a little bit because I didn't necessarily want to get into it. Interesting. I just got a note that I did not know. I didn't watch this show. I got to be honest with you. It wasn't big on my note. Kronos STW from Twitch pops in with this note, which I didn't know. The draft was recorded before the Jazz played against Philly. Okay? So it's a pretty blatant, I'm not going to give the Jazz credit. These guys are number 1 in the league. They have the best record. They look really damn good. Is it that simple? Or is it just, so it's really one of two things and you can decide. Or maybe it's both. Maybe it's a combination. Things are never 100%, 0%. It's either these guys are upstarts. They're really good. They're making inroads into our world. We have this thing planned out. It's supposed to be Brooklyn, LA in the finals, and we're going to knock them down in the way we can. Or it's just Utah's the brunt of jokes again. Utah, good old Utah. We'll just poke fun at him again. And it's interesting, if I have not talked to Ryan Smith, but everybody who has talks about Ryan Smith talking about how he wants to change the perception of Utah as the owner of this franchise, as much from a basketball standpoint as a business standpoint. I think there's probably, and I don't know, the same thing going on in Silicon Slopes with these incredible upstart businesses like Qualtrics and Pluralsight and Domo, etc., that probably in the Silicon Valley world, they at least have this valuation number that gives them value, but maybe similar to the Jazz. I don't know, but maybe similar to the Jazz in the sense that you have the valuation, which puts you as the number 1 seed. You don't really get the respect because you're not out of Silicon Valley, because you're not out of New York City, because you're not out of LA, because you're out of Silicon Slopes. And Ryan Smith wants so much to change the perception of both Utah and the Jazz and who they are and how they're playing, pay the luxury tax, be winners, go have the best coach in the league, develop these stars, be ready to go. I almost expect Ryan Smith to play the buyout market just to show we're willing to play the buyout market. It's not something we've really done in the past. And not only are we willing to play the buyout market, but most importantly, we have a franchise and a team that's worthy of bringing somebody into the buyout market. Excuse me. I need some water and I don't have any way to get any. Well, actually I might. If either of you in the other room are there and want to bring me a glass of water, that'd be great. That was for my daughter and wife who might be in the next room. Might not be too. The live shows, that's what happens. So that's where we are. That's my take on it. But there, the Deron Williams comments on the Ringer podcast with Raja Bell are really interesting. Like, really interesting, and he lays out how the whole thing went down, which really has still never been talked about, and I don't really think I'm going to be the one who talks about that. I still have, seems to be the taboo topic of conversation still amongst Jazz world to ever talk about what really went down that night with with Deron and everyone. But I think that the next, there were some comments in there that were really interesting. Look at this. Listening live while hiking Fantasy Ridge at Solitude. That makes me very happy. I'm going to try to sneak out for a few later today. Bluebird day, 50 degrees. Can't be any better. Absolutely. I love it. Go Jazz 69. Have a good one on Fantasy Ridge. It's the one run at Solitude. I've never done it. Wasn't open when I worked there. So I would look forward to hearing about it. Tap us back. If it depends how long the hike is, you could be done by the time we get in. Today's show is brought to you by Murdoch Hyundai. My good friends over at Murdoch Hyundai want to give you the VIP experience and give you the opportunity to get into a fabulous, fabulous Hyundai. If you don't know the Hyundai brand, like I didn't, frankly, before I met the Murdochs and got to know it and started driving it, then you're probably thinking to yourself like, huh? Take a minute, look around. The first thing you'll be stunned when you drive around how many Hyundais there are, because they have mastered how to get you the most value for the right dollar and give you the most car with the best safety features for the right dollar. And in doing that, what they've been able to build is this incredible lineup of cars where you get all the bells and whistles and don't break the bank. And then they got amazing deals like 0% for like a million months right now. So go check it out. Murdoch Hyundai, located 4646 South State Street, also located in Linden and in Logan. And you can email me first at dlock09@gmail.com. That's dlock09@gmail.com. Have you caught Locked On Bets? It's our new daily gambling podcast. It's about 15 minutes. Your boy Q hosts it, who's awesome, along with handicapper Lee Sterling, hitting the big games of the upcoming weekend for you. 15 minutes, all brought to you by betonline.ag. Betonline.ag's got a bunch of fun. They have a great deal of fun while also doing sports for you. Football might be done, but betonline.ag's got all the odds for a big UFC fight coming up. I think this weekend, what is it? I'm not a big UFC guy, but I think if I'm right, UFC 259 is coming this weekend. They've got the lines there for you on that. So go to betonline.ag and put down your Locked On as your promo code, and you get a 50% welcome bonus. That's free money for you. Right now, Lakers 285, Nets 300, Clippers 550, Jazz 700, Bucks 800, 76ers 1100. Those are your championship futures. How about conference futures? They have the Lakers at plus 150, the Clippers at plus 280, the Jazz at plus 350, and the Nuggets and Suns, who are both on fire, at plus 1400. That'd actually be the one that would like fire me up. That's probably the one that would get me the most upset. What about the NCAA? Do we have futures on NCAA? Not championship? Nope, not yet. All right. I have not been following. I know Baylor and Gonzaga are on fire, but I have not been following that one enough to know. Player futures, by the way, Rudy and Jordan Clarkson. Jordan is minus 400 for 6-man. Bet 400 to win 100. And next is Eric Gordon at 1,100. Rudy Gobert, Defensive Player of the Year, is minus 175 with Ben Simmons at plus 210. See, this is the thing that's so weird about this. Like, on one level, we're just dealing with this constant disrespect, and on the other level, we're not. Like, there's been a million articles written about the Jazz. There's been a million conversations about the Jazz. They've been unquestionably the talk of the team. The Jazz PR department's making everyone available for every ESPN podcast imaginable. Jordan Clarkson's on with Zach Lowe, and Justin's doing Woj, and Conley's doing Woj. Like, we're getting, like, our PR staff is, like, embracing the moment and getting all of our guys out there all the time right now. So we're getting, I don't feel like the knowledgeable basketball fans ignoring us. I think Shaq was just a jerk. LeBron and Durant were bullies, and Utah's who you pick on. Like, it's the acceptable, okay person to pick on. And that's my feeling. Deron Williams was really interesting in the Raja Bell conversation on The Ringer. It's on video on YouTube if you want to grab it. Actually, with the whole brand new way Restream has things, I could actually just play it for you right now. It'd be kind of cool. But that would be stealing Ringer's content. There was a really interesting moment, honestly, was Deron talking about trying to recruit players to Utah and knowing you couldn't get them there. Like that, is that changed? That's what Ryan Smith's going to try to change. That was the most telling thing. And that was Kevin O'Connor's plan the whole time, was that he knew Deron wasn't coming back or thought he wasn't. And whoever didn't win out on Carmelo, he was going to take the same package for Deron. That was his whole play in there. Raj got some interesting stories in that interview as well. Deron and Jerry going back and forth. They really get it. Like, it's pretty revealing on the whole last night. But the telling comment was really made by Deron in that aspect of like, I was recruiting and no one was coming to Utah. And this is the challenge. Dennis and Justin have built, with Larry's money, built a great practice facility. The Jazz have done a wonderful job of, it's why they, before COVID, did 1 million draft workouts and player workouts, because they wanted people to come in and see and touch and feel the organization and understand what they've built. Quinn's got to be the most appealing coach in the NBA to play for right now. Everyone talks about it. And you got 2 great stars. So can we change the perception of the state and the city and the franchise? And it's just really hard. Like, I think this last 36 hours is just a reminder of what a challenge that really is. Like, San Antonio was able to kind of change the perception of San Antonio, kind of, right? Like, kind of. I don't know that Milwaukee's changing the perception of Milwaukee right now. Like, they're good. Like, I think everybody respects them for being good, but are they really changing who the franchise is? This is a really, really monstrous challenge that the Jazz have to try to pull off. And there's nothing easy about it. And it's where Ryan's taking over is probably great for the organization, because this is really the opportunity, the guy to probably do that. Is his energy, his success, his worldwide contacts, his perception in the world, his bringing the guys in from Australia. The Millers, as great as they were, I'm not sure that they were ready to try to fight this next battle, to try to change the perception of the whole state and all that entails. And this is where Ryan should be great. But if nothing else can tell us anything, the last 36 hours, it's a really, really hard challenge. All right, let's get to your questions. Live show here today, live on Locked On Live on Twitch, on YouTube, on also on Facebook at David Locke, and then on DLocke09. If you follow me on Facebook at Locked On Sports, I'm switching over to David Locke. So please make that change with me. All right, let's get to your questions. We'll start it off with oh no, that's not the right one. Blake Griffin just became a free agent. Where do you think he ends up? It's a good question, Cougar man. Blake Griffin. First question I think we have to ask ourselves is, what value does he bring? The Blake Griffin we're seeing now, what does he bring? So the first thing that's going to happen with Blake Griffin is Blake Griffin has not played an NBA game in his career where he came off the bench, ever. He's played 642 games. He started every single one of them. He will now be playing second unit guys wherever he goes. He will not, if he's going to a championship team, he will not be a starter. Let's discuss the weaknesses of Blake Griffin for a second. Last year he played 18 games. This year he's played 20. He's shooting 36% combined for that last 38 game stretch. His three-point shooting in that stretch is about 27%. So, quite honestly, the very first question that someone has to make about Blake Griffin is, can he play still? I know that's crazy when we're talking about a 6-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA player, but can he still play? And the fact is, he hasn't been able to since the 2018-19 season when he makes his final All-Star game in Detroit, averages 25 points a game, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists. Since then, he's not been able to play. On the other end, he's never played second-tier guys. So if we look at his playing skills as an offensive player, he's not shooting it well, which tells you his legs are gone. He's still a great passer. He's a good team player. He's a wonderful, wonderful guy. He has not dunked a basketball since the 2020 season. He only dunked the ball 5 times all last season. He's 6'9". He, for his career from 0 to 3 feet, has shot 72% at the peak of his career, 74, 75. His last year in LA for a full season, he shot 67. He shot 68 in his combined year. He shot 68 in his last All-Star year. He shot 56% at the rim last year and 66% this year. I don't know what he brings. Detroit was worse with him on the floor both the last two seasons than they were with him off the floor. I don't know what Blake Griffin brings to the table. He doesn't bring outside shooting. He does bring passing. His knees are so bad that there were plays in which he tried to stop defensively as a player on a closeout, which he's got to do all the time, playing 1 through 4. And you could literally see his legs not be able to stop. I don't know that he can defend anymore at all. His post-up game, which is like an easy thought, is not actually good. It's at 41%. Interestingly enough, and this might have great impact for like the Jazz, if the Jazz are suddenly interested. The area where his game is best is as a pick and roll ball handler. Blake Griffin, now when you talk about what he brings to the table, he's actually a ball handler, distributor, playing with as a big off the pick and roll, finding people, getting mismatches, and trying to score off of that. Isn't that weird? But that's what he is. His jump shot's not good. Shooting 28% on all jump shots this year. He's shooting 30% on all catch and shoots this year. Shooting 27% off the bounce this year. He doesn't have an isolation game anymore. He just doesn't do it. Like he doesn't have it. His body doesn't allow him to do it anymore. His post-ups are fine. His strength is actually his basketball intelligence, his pick and roll handling. They're going to go under the pick probably most of the time once he starts running it a lot, and they haven't entirely figured that out yet. He's not going to be able to take a shot off the bounce on that. He's going to have to get into the lane and use his strength in his body and maybe gets on someone undersized. Isn't that weird? Is there a bigger reason besides Rudy being emotional a couple of years ago for everyone to hate the Utah Jazz? Chronos STW at Twitch. You know, I don't know. I really think the answer is that they're the kid that can be picked on. I know that sucks, but I don't have a better answer. Like, why would Shaq do that to, I mean, Devin Booker's kind of gone through this too. Like, oh, it's all right, we'll pick on Phoenix and Utah because we don't want to pick on LA, New York, right? Like, is that it? Is it really that it? Seems crappy. I don't know that everyone hates Utah, but I do think it's to me and to you and all of us that have been around this franchise, it's a really big bummer to see the franchise do as many amazing things as they've done recently, have the number one seed, have these two great stories, the best community kid you could ever imagine in Donovan. This amazing, Chris wrote an amazing story in The Athletic about Rudy's progression. It's interesting. My memory is him walking up at the Staples Center to go to the La Quinta by the airport, not being sent from Denver. Maybe he had multiple trips to the G League. And now he's an all-star best defensive player in the league, going to probably go to the Hall of Fame. Like, it's amazing. To me, they're like the best stories in the league. I love them. I love our team. You know, as Jared Goldberg says, find somebody who loves the Utah Jazz the way I do. Well, you guys do too. You found yourselves. So it just feels really, it's a bummer. Feels really crappy. Get back to your questions in a second. Make sure you get all that going. Grip 6 belts. Have you done the grip? I'm not in a grip 6 belt right now. I'm live. I could stand up and show you, but I'm actually in my Jazz sweats. I'm in one of my favorite Jazz sweat outfits. Woo! Yay! Look at me, 50 years old, walking around in a sweatsuit. I just became Leisure Larry and Loser Larry. Hopefully you laughed. Grip 6 is the best belts on the market. No holes, no straps, no bulk. engineered with a lifetime warranty, quality craftsman guaranteed, built in Utah. Show a little pride for Utah and buy your Grip 6 belts. Yeah, that's the day. Honeycomb belts, fabulous. The buckles and the straps interchange. So you buy 2 straps, you buy 2 belts. Buckles, you end up with 4 belts. You got the combo pack you can buy. It comes with a hanger. You can use the promo code LOCKEDON. You can get 15% off. You can do it now at grip6.com. That's it. Show your pride for the Jazz, for Utah, with Utah's own Grip 6 belts. I don't know if that's what they paid for, but that's what they got. Why do I do this? Because it makes me feel 23. This episode is also sponsored by Blue Chew. Blue Chew is making waves and bringing more confidence to the bedroom. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in a chewable form at a fraction of the cost. Blue Chew's tablets combat all forms of ED and can help men gain extra confidence for when it's time to perform. Blue Chew's an online prescription service, so no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, no waiting in line at the pharmacy, and it ships right to your door in a discreet package. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com. Consult one of the licensed medical providers. Once you're approved, you'll receive the prescription within days. The best part is it's done all online. Don't like swallowing pills? No problems here. Blue Chew tablets are made in the USA. They're prepared and shipped directly. Go to BlueChew.com and try it for free with a promo code LOCKEDON. Just pay the $5 for shipping. That's BlueChew.com. Promo code LOCKEDON to receive your first month free. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this podcast. All right, let's go run through quick rapid fire questions on the live show instead of doing points gained. We'll do points gained during the All-Star break. I think they're talking about, this is the feeling of all Jazz fans. David Hecht, it's trash. He did it intentionally. LeBron trying to break down the Jazz, who he sees as a real threat. From YouTube, possibly the greatest setup, starting with Gobert's COVID to the Nuggets 7-game series to Mitchell versus Shaq versus the refs to the All-Star selection to make a great playoff run. And the only thing you left out about that is, let's be honest, Donovan and Rudy were having a little riff. That was not like, they both have kind of admitted it. We don't need to pretend it didn't happen. And it gets rebuilt in the bubble. Right? So the other part of this thing is if the Jazz can really put this together, the bubble is where Quinn Snyder reforms the team and where the team reforms itself. Andy, in all honesty, it's not a big deal, but I think that stuff combined will fuel our championship run fire. I like the positive attitude. More from David Hecht on Twitter. Kudos to them for being bigger people in a crappy situation. That's not what he said, but it's what I said. Should we be worried that all these All-Stars are going to be in Donovan's ear about getting out of Utah and getting more respect? I think that is a constant challenge for 23 of the franchises in the NBA. Right? By the way, this is the one thing I always talk about. People always talk about, a big market, small, appealing markets to go for free agency. Can we have an honest moment about this? Philadelphia. Have they pulled a lot of free agents? Al Horford, maybe. Okay, maybe. Brooklyn seems to be building something. Milwaukee's not appealing. Boston, every free agent that's been there is left. Al Horford, Kyrie Irving. Why that isn't a story? Al Horford, Kyrie Irving, Gordon Hayward, all left. That happens to Utah. It's the number one story in the league. Knicks, no one's wanted to sign there. It's not appealing. Miami's appealing. Charlotte's not. Toronto's not. Chicago's, maybe. Great city, not a good franchise. Indiana's not. Atlanta's not. Washington's not. Cleveland's not. Orlando's not. Detroit's not. Utah's not. Phoenix isn't. Chris Paul trade. Lakers is. Clippers, we'll see. They give him credit. Portland's not. Denver's not. San Antonio's not. Dallas hasn't been. Should be, hasn't been. Golden State, probably. San Francisco. Memphis, not. New Orleans, not. Oklahoma City, not. Sacramento, not. Houston, clearly not. Minnesota, not. It's a little bit of a joke. Poor Utah. No. Poor 23 of the franchises out there where they're best. You don't think, if Karl Anthony Towns was on a team that was actually good enough to make the All-Star game, you don't think that they'd be all talking to Karl Anthony, get the hell out of there? That's just what is going on in this league. With the trade deadline coming up in free agency news, do you think the Jazz make any moves? Yes. What? I don't know. I think we need an extra wing defender. If we can add that, we have no trade chips. We have absolutely zero trade chips. There's almost no way for us to be able to make a trade. If you look at unless you're going to trade somebody who matters. I'm assuming with the number one record in the NBA, with the way that we're playing right now, that we're not particularly interested in trading Joe Ingles, that we're not particularly interested in trading Royce O'Neal. So, you're not trading Mike Conley, I don't think. I don't think you're trading Bojan his $17 million. I don't think you're trading Jordan and his 12. So you really have no trade chips at all. Like literally not a single trade chip like out there. So you're going to have to get somebody on the buyout market, which is tough. But I mean, we don't even have like cap space really to do like second round draft pick for something or other. So unless you're, George Niang is probably at 1.7 million is one of the great values in the NBA. So unless you want to trade Royce at 8.5, Derek at 9.3, Joe at 10.8, Clarkson at 11.5, or Bojan for 18, and really shake up the roster, I'm not sure I'm willing to do that. I mean, when I look at our lineup data and where and who we are and the way we've been dominating, I can't imagine why I make any of those deals. Right? Like, our guys have their strengths and weaknesses, but Bojan's not a great defensive player. He's a 42% three-point shooter. Our starting lineup is plus 11. Like, Our secondary lineup, which is our bench unit with Gobert and Conley, is plus 9. Our bench unit with Joe Ingles in for Mike Conley is plus 25. And our starters is plus 25. Our bench unit with Joe Ingles at point guard is plus 30. Our starting unit with Favors in instead of Gobert is plus 11. Like, the only lineup we have that's really not working is Donovan Mitchell, Jordan Clarkson, Royce O'Neal, Joe Ingles, and Derek Favors is minus 33. It's actually one of the worst lineups in the league. And our next one is Donovan, Jordan Clarkson, Royce O'Neal, Bojan Bogdanovic, and Rudy Gobert. The Donovan, Jordan, Royce threesome has not been great this year. But I'm not making a trade because of it. I think Braun was trying to make up a perceived slander, but made it worse. The needling. Let me see what he said. Sorry. I can't see that whole message. So the needling size, though. Right. I also think it might have. The other thing is it could have just happened. And then these guys are good enough with the media that then they just start playing it off. Right. I think there's a real chance for that. Steven, I hope that Gobert and Mitchell and company use this to fuel their fire to win a title next year. Connor says LeBron will pay for this. I hope you heard David James today on the morning show. He was epic about all this with an incredible, amazing, breakdown of everything he said. If ever the front office is going to push all the chips in, this would be the time. I don't think there's any question on that. Do you think Rudy and Donovan are going to respond to disrespect in the All-Star game, or is it Mad Don and Rudy all the rest of the season? I mean, I think it motivates them, but I don't think it's good. I'm not going to take it's all 100% good. They'll just take it. This clearly discourages free agent potential from Utah and other small market. The league's best players are cool with the league that has 4 good teams and a bunch of dismal ones. Well, we're not dismal. Portland's not dismal. Phoenix is not dismal. Milwaukee's not dismal. So, they were 8th grade bullies. That's what they were. They were 8th grade bullies. And I don't know if they were 8th grade bullies with an intention at the start or whether they're 8th grade bullies at the end when they suddenly realized what had happened. I don't know that. We'll never know. Can't wait for Rudy to win Team LeBron the game during the Elam ending by coming up with 10 stops in a row. Rudy will play hard. All right. One thing that was overlooked was Embiid taunting Mitchell for a technical had to annoy Don. Don actually tweeted at him afterwards, not in any mad way. I don't think that actually annoyed much of anyone. Are you looking forward to watching the All-Star game this year? I don't think I will. That one's the ultimate example to me of I will let it play out, and then if there's something newsworthy, I'll go back and watch it. But I don't think I will. I'll be perfectly honest. That's not one that I spent enough time on this. I think you can find me at top of a mountain somewhere, though it's a night game. So I'll just be asleep on the couch after being on the top of the mountain somewhere. Have a great one. It is Locked On Jazz. I don't know what I got coming next week. I got a van. I might take off for a few days. See ya. Have a good one. Talk to you soon. This is Locked On Jazz. Right now, tell your smart device to play Locked On today.